The Prom King mocked my rust bucket car, then he showed up at my office for a job. He stood in the school parking lot, keys spinning on his finger, surrounded by friends, looked at my car, faded paint, cracked bumpers, and said, "Nice rust bucket. Did it come with a tetanus shot?" Everyone laughed, including the prom queen. I didn't say a word. Fast forward 10 years. Same guy, different parking lot. Except this time, he wasn't laughing. He was sitting across from me in my office, asking for a job. Welcome back to the channel. This one is about patience, growth, and the long game of success. But before we get into it, where are you watching from right now? Drop your country and city in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel across the world. And if you enjoy satisfying comeback stories, powerful life turnarounds, and moments where karma quietly circles back, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Because sometimes, the real glow-up doesn't happen in high school. It happens in the boardroom. 10 years ago, Chad Miller shoved me into a locker and told me I'd be fixing his toilets by our reunion. When I pulled up to the 10-year reunion in my grandfather's dented 1998 sedan, Chad was waiting. He was leaning against a rented Italian sports car, wearing a suit that cost more than his personality. He spent the night buying rounds of drinks with a platinum card and telling everyone how he was revisiting his roots before heading back to his corner office. He called me the janitor in front of my old crush and laughed about how some people just aren't built for the fast lane. He thought I was still the quiet kid with the broken glasses. He didn't realize I wasn't there to reminisce. I was there to see which of my former classmates were worth hiring for my new branch. And Chad? He just failed the interview. Chad is holding a glass of champagne surrounded by a crowd of former jocks. He points at my old car through the window. "Hey, look, it's Leo," Chad shouted loud enough to stop the music. "Nice ride, man. Does it come with a tetanus shot or do you have to pay extra for the rust? I guess that startup you mentioned in the yearbook ended up being a lemonade stand, huh? Don't worry, I'm hiring a new assistant next week. If you can learn to polish my shoes without streaking, I might give you a shot." Monday morning. My office at Vance Innovations is 40 stories above the city. The glass walls overlook the very parking lot where Chad's rental was probably being towed for non-payment. I'm in a tailored suit, drinking espresso, reviewing the final candidates for the regional director position. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Vance, your 10 a.m. interview is here. A Mr. Chad Miller?" "Send him in," I said, spinning my chair toward the window. Chad walked in, radiating that fake-it-till-you-make-it energy. He started talking before he even saw my face. "Look, I know I'm overqualified for this, but I'm looking for a company that matches my alpha drive." I spun the chair around. I didn't say a word. I just set my old broken glasses from high school on the desk next to a Forbes magazine with my face on the cover. Chad's jaw didn't just drop, it hit the floor. He looked at the desk, then at me, then at the logo on the wall. "Leo? You're the Vance in Vance Innovations? But the car, the reunion, I looked like someone who doesn't need to rent a car to feel important, Chad," I said, leaning back. "You spent Saturday night mocking the janitor. Today you're looking at the guy who decides if you can pay your rent this month." Chad tried to pivot. He let out a nervous, high-pitched laugh. "Leo, man, that was a great bit at the reunion. We were just hazing you like the old days. You know, I've always respected the hustle. So, about that regional director spot, when do I start?" I picked up his resume and dropped it into the shredder. The sound of the paper tearing was the only noise in the room. "You don't start, Chad," I said. "I don't hire people who haze the people they think are beneath them. You see, I went to that reunion to find leaders. A leader is someone who treats the guy in the rust bucket with the same respect as the guy in the Ferrari. You proved you're not a leader. You're just a bully who hasn't grown up since senior year." I stood up and opened the door. "My assistant will show you out. And Chad, don't worry about fixing my toilets. I have a professional service for that. They have better manners than you." I watched him walk down the hall, his shoulders slumped, the Prom King crown finally falling off. People think success is about showing off what you've won, but real success is the power to choose who you walk with. Chad spent 10 years looking down. I spent 10 years building up. He's still living in high school. I'm living in the future, and the view from the top, it's a lot clearer without the noise. The lobby of Vance Innovations was a palace of glass, steel, and silent efficiency. Monday morning. I was sitting in my corner office 40 floors above the city, wearing a bespoke charcoal suit that cost more than Chad's entire lifestyle. My grandfather's old sedan was safely parked in the executive basement, a reminder of where I came from. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Vance, your 10 a.m. candidate for the regional director position is here, a Mr. Chad Miller." "Send him in," I said, spinning my chair toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the skyline. The door clicked open. I heard Chad's heavy, confident footsteps on the hardwood. He was talking before he even reached the desk, his voice booming with that fake Fortune 500 energy. Listen, I'll be honest, I usually don't do these initial rounds, but when I saw the growth trajectory of Vance Innovations, I knew I had to bring my alpha strategy to the table. I'm a disruptor. I slowly spun the chair around. I didn't say a word. I just set my old taped-together glasses from high school on the desk, right next to a copy of Fortune magazine with my face on the cover. Chad's voice died in his throat. He literally tripped over his own feet, clutching his leather portfolio like a shield. He looked at the glasses, then at the magazine, then at me. "Leo?" he stammered, his face turning a sickly shade of gray. You're the CEO? But the reunion, the rust bucket, you were wearing a sweater with a hole in the elbow." "It was a comfortable sweater, Chad," I said, leaning back and interlacing my fingers. "And that rust bucket gets me from A to B just as well as your rented Lamborghini. The difference is I don't need a car to tell me who I am. Apparently you do." Chad looked at the logo on the wall, the stylized V, and then at the nameplate on my desk. Leo Vance, founder and CEO. I was just joking at the reunion, man," Chad said, a desperate, sweaty grin breaking across his face. "You know how it is. Locker room talk. I was just pushing you to be better. Looks like it worked, right? So, do I get the office with the view?" Chad leaned forward, trying to salvage his dignity with a wink. "Come on, Leo, think about it. We were the stars of the school. Together, we'd be unstoppable. You've got the brains, I've got the it factor. Let's put that high school stuff behind us and make some real money." I picked up his resume. I didn't even read it. I just looked him in the eye. "You're right about one thing, Chad. We aren't in high school anymore. In this building, the it factor isn't about how loud you can talk or who you can shove into a corner. It's about integrity. It's about how you treat people when you think they can't do anything for you." I dropped the resume into the shredder. The high-pitched whirring filled the room as his stellar achievements turned into confetti. "You're not getting the job, Chad. In fact, you're not getting any job in this zip code. I did a little digging after the reunion. Your luxury apartment building? It's owned by a subsidiary of my company. And since you're currently 3 months behind on rent, likely because you spent your savings renting that car for a one-night ego trip, I've decided not to renew your lease." Chad stood up, his face turning from gray to a deep, embarrassed red. "You're ruining my life over a few jokes. It was 10 years ago." "No," I said, standing up and buttoning my jacket. "I'm protecting my company culture. You haven't changed in 10 years, Chad. You're still the guy who thinks success is a weapon to use against others. I'm just the guy who's taking the weapon away." I signaled for my assistant to open the door. "Security will see you to the elevator, Mr. Miller. And don't worry about your stuff. It'll be waiting for you on the sidewalk by Friday. Maybe you can use that alpha energy to find a nice park bench." I turned back to my window. I watched him exit the building, a tiny figure on the sidewalk looking lost in a city he thought he owned. People think the nerds win because they get rich, but that's not it. We win because we learned how to be human while the kings were busy being bullies. The view from the top is great, but it's even better when you know you earned it without stepping on anyone else. Back to work.